What up, guys? Welcome to the Stop Losing Women podcast. This is the show where you learn about dating, relationships, and everything you need to be a successful dater at large. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. We have a jam-packed show today. And so on today's show, our main topic of discussion later on is going to be stop being romantic. It doesn't build attraction, and do this instead. And honestly, what sparked this is this simple fact that, like, a lot of dudes in the beginning of their dating journey, we meet women, we get excited about them, and we've seen all these movies and all these songs talking about how to be romantic and how women like romance and all these gestures and stuff like that. And yet, I don't know what your experience was. My experience dating was that when I was doing all those things, I didn't get the results that I wanted. And then I found that as I was doing less stuff to try to impress women during the dating process, somehow they fell for me faster and it was easier to get into relationships. And so I want to kind of give examples of what that looks like and talk about why it is that that happens in the first place. And just for clarity's sake, I'm not saying don't be romantic, but I do want to talk about the timing of all that stuff and what romance looks like to women in an effective way versus what we think it should be and what it actually is not. So we're going to get into all that later on. First off, I have a bunch of different comments and questions that you guys have sent in that I want to answer because this show is ultimately about you guys. So if you have any questions during the course of the show that you'd like me to answer, I got this wonderful little chat box right here. You can leave a question in the chat box and I will answer it for you live here. Now, beyond this show, if you need my help with one-on-one coaching or something you're going through in your own personal dating life and you need somebody to actually analyze your situation and help you structure real change that can happen, you can go to stoplosingwomen.com. You can check out the one-on-one coaching we have available. I also have my Get Girls Academy, which has a bunch of my most popular programs housed in it to help you out. And you can check out one of my ebooks, etc., etc., etc. Let me get this water real quick. By the way, this is a groomsman's cup that I actually got from one of my clients who I helped him create his dating profile. He met a woman on there, and then they eventually got married, and I got to be the groomsman. So there you go. All right. Anyway, so let's get to some of these questions. So this guy was actually nice enough to leave a question in the chat before the show started, and so I will happily answer his question right now. So this guy left a question in the comments, and he goes, Harry, why is it so incredibly difficult to find the right one? Everybody says there's somebody for everybody, but it should be easier to find your match, shouldn't it? I've been told I'm handsome and a great catch by everyone except for the women I'm attracted to. Why? And are these women lying to me to make me feel more confident? So appreciate you asking the question. I used to have these same questions in my head back in the day when I would find women that I was just extremely attracted to. And I would be trying to do all the things to attract them. And they would just give me the let's just be friends speech or you're a nice guy, but speech, whatever. And this is what I became aware of, is that I was unaware of how differently I acted with women that I had a high interest in versus women I was just kind of maybe kind of feeling, And this happens because in our heads, when women that we're just kind of sort of attracted to approach us, we don't have a care for if we attract them and keep them or if we lose them. It's just kind of like, well, I mean, if she wants to do some stuff, I guess we can, but if not, I wasn't attracted anyway, no big deal, right? And so we have a problem taking that same mindset and those same types of actions to women that we're highly interested in, because now it's a high key stakes investment where it's like we start thinking, if I say the wrong thing, if I do the wrong thing, if I do anything that upsets this person, I miss out on a shot at getting with them. And so what we unintentionally do is we end up acting like different people than we normally would. We get a little nicer. We're a bit more agreeable. We're not trying to rock the boat. So we play it a lot more safer. And women can suss that out. Women can tell on a vibrational level if you are being a version of yourself that's just trying to please her versus a version of yourself that's just your actual self. And so that's one of those things where this is why I tell you guys all the time, you need to treat all women the same. Because let's say, for example, you have a woman that's interested in you that's just kind of like, we'll say she's like a 5 or a 6, right? And you have a woman that is interested in you that's a 10. You're trying to get with the 10 in hopes that they treat you the same way that the 6 is treating you. But in order for that to happen, you have to treat the 10 like you would treat the 6. And once your brain is able to do that, it gets easier, but it's going to be hard at first because you're putting so much more value on the 10. Now, what you don't know is that the 6 could be a great conversationalist. She could be the one that's going to be there for you nonstop and is willing to like do all the things domestically and physically that you want to do, right? And the 10 could be none of that. And what I learned in my dating journey is that sometimes the women that are the hottest ones aren't going to be the ones that do nearly as much stuff that works for a longer term relationship than like the 5s or 6s. Not saying that you need to go for a 5 or 6, but I'm saying that that's just a good thing to keep in your head, right? But on top of that, something else you said here, everybody says there's somebody for everybody, but it should be easy to find your match. And why is it so difficult to find the right one? The thought that you have of there being one right one is also a major problem, because ideally you think in abundance and you think that at best case scenario, there's going to be a wide variety of women that are out there that will work for you. Because if you just put all this emphasis on the one, then what you're going to find happen is every woman you meet, you're going to potentially see as this could be the one, and you're going to put too much energy and effort into trying to get her too early in the dating process for that to happen, you know? And so, and also to the point, it really does change up who's going to be right for you, depending on where you are in your life right now, depending on where you live, because people think like, you know, oh, it's destiny or it's fate. Really, honestly, romance basically depends on like where you live and who you have closest proximity to. And so that's why I say there's no one. If there was one, let's say your one was like in India and you never ever go to India. Oh, I guess you're out of luck. You'll never get a girl. Realistically, it's that there are a bevy of women that are around you right now. And if you know how to present yourself in an authentic way that's not sucking up to her, but you build yourself up in a way that also is likable to a variety of women, you will find there's going to be more than one. Like for me, I'm married now. I love my wife immensely. If she were to die tomorrow, I know I could go back out there and find another one. Like that's the reality, is that she wouldn't be the only perfect one for me. Just we knew each other since back in college. We've known each other for a long time. And as of right now, she is the one that is for me. I see us going the full distance. If she were to get hit by a truck or something tomorrow, I would warn that and be like, that sucks. And maybe it takes a year or two, but eventually I'd be like, I try to go back out there and find somebody, because I don't have the limited mindset that like, if she goes away, that's it. That's all I get. It's just here's the real thing, is that you pick, if you get to the point where you're actually the one that's choosing and not being the one that's like, whoever chooses me, I'll go along with that. Then you choose the woman that of all the options that are available to you work the best. Not necessarily the one, but like that works the best based on the options that are available to you. So if you get to a point where you can date 9s and 10s, even then you're going to have 5 9s or 10s, and you got to choose one of those. And all 5 of them, they could all bake in the kitchen. They could all, have great jobs. They could all be, do tons of tricks to you in the bedroom. You can still only pick one. Doesn't mean one is necessarily better than the other one. It just means that you make a choice and you choose the one that you feel is going to work best long-term with your life, okay? So that's why I never liked the concept of, oh, I got to find the one, because there's more than the one out there. It's you decide to make a choice to choose one of these women. And then if you go the distance, you make a conscious choice to make a commitment. You say to the person, hey, I think I want to go the long road with you, and I think I can see this working out long term. So let's do our best to put in the effort and work to make it happen, And that's not the most romantic version of like love or getting together. But again, this whole show is about like not being romantic. You having a less romantic view of love is going to be the easiest way for you to get into a relationship, because you'll get rid of all these like, frilly little notions about, oh, it's got to be love and it's got to be happenstance and it's got to be fate. Bro, it really doesn't work like that. Like, the idea they sell to us in movies about romance and happenstance and meeting and, we never fight and argue anymore and we live happily ever after, it's all bullcrap. Like, love and commitment is a conscious decision that you make every day. Like I get up every day inside. I got to commit to my wife today. I got to, commit to being nice and kind to this person. I got to commit to making plans with this person. And that doesn't always look romantic. So once you remove the romantic gesture side of trying to get with people, you'll start looking at more analytically. I found as a guy, just personally, being more analytical about who I was choosing and the moves I was making and how to show them affection and at what point to make moves to escalate things or to de-escalate things, when to even ask to get married and stuff like that. Like those are all things that come as a result of being more analytical about romance. And I think this is why I think guys get tripped up when they get too overly romantic, or they start thinking like, I got to find the right one, this is that. And for the women out there that are saying to this guy, they're saying that he's a nice guy and he's kind, but he's a great catch, but it's not by the women that he wants. Again, you're treating the women that you want differently and probably a bit too romantically. You're probably overreaching and overextending yourself. And with the 6s and 5s that are going after you, you're not doing that. Do the same thing that you're doing to the 5s and 6s to the 9s and 10s. Never treat women different. And also, to be real, even with the 9s and 10s, you will find after you spend enough time with them and you have that first argument with them and you see them go to the bathroom and they let the big old thing in the toilet, trust and believe you're not going to have the same blindness to their beauty. You're not going to be sucked in by how pretty they are anymore, because you're going to be like, on a day-to-day basis, it's going to become, their looks are going to become monotonous. You're going to start seeing like, oh, she has a little wrinkle there, or she has a gray hair there, or she has a pimple sometimes in the morning, or her farts really smell. And all the stuff that makes her a 9 and 10 is going to knock her down to a 7 or a 6. So that's why I say you can't let their pretty shell fool you into thinking that they deserve to be treated differently than any other woman you meet who may be average or less. Like, you got to treat them all the same. Most women see themselves as average, even the ones that are 9s and 10s. They know their farts stink. They know they have those little secret things they're trying to cover with makeup on their face. Like, they know all that stuff. So you can't buy into the lie that they're feeding you. And when you do less of that, and then you start being more analytical, you will find that this will be less of an issue. All right. So hopefully that answers your question. And thank you for leaving it in the comments. For the rest of you guys, if you have any questions you want to ask me during the course of the stream, leave it in the comment section. Or leave it in the chat box, and I'll be happy to get to it during the show. So with that said, there were other comments that were left on some previous videos of mine that I'm also going to answer from you guys. So this guy had a question he left in the comments. He said, Harry, is a woman making a specific gesture, her making the first move, or is it when she actually talks to you? So I did a show yesterday about women actually making the first move and what that looks like. So he's asking a follow-up question. He says, she fanned herself only when she walked by me, and it appeared she was calling me hot. Well, that's a very low-key, passive signal. If she passed by you 2 or 3 times during the course of you being in her vicinity, and she was going like this each time, that could be a subtle hint that maybe she's interested. Because, like I said, most women's moves when they make their first move are going to be very, very subtle. But here's the thing. Even, let's say she walked by you a few times and she did the fan thing, and it ultimately ended up not being a signal, all right? There still has to be an element of, you have to be bold enough to be able to make moves out there. And so women will typically help you when they want you. So if you see any kind of thing, you might think, well, maybe it is, maybe it's not. But also, a woman could just be walking around and maybe not catch that you're in her vicinity and you find her attractive. You can also go up to her. Like, I'm not anti you going up to women that aren't showing any signals. Sometimes they might just not know either A, that you're in the vicinity, or B, that you're available. She might think, oh, you're a good looking guy and he's probably already got somebody. I don't want to impede upon him if he does. So I'm going to actually just leave him alone. All right. So part of being a guy in this dating game, unfortunately, is growing a pair of balls and being like, I'm going to approach this girl. If she's showing signals, great, but I don't see her showing signals. And so I'm taking a big gamble by doing it. And then, I talk about immensely in my courses and stuff, like ways you can try to approach women in a way that's not like so overt and so overpowering that it freaks her out, but you can go to a woman and just say something simple like, hey, I'm trying to find directions to this place, or hey, I noticed you're reading this book, holding this thing. I noticed that you had these shoes on that are by this brand, like, etc. You can call out things in the environment. Hey, I noticed that there's this coffee shop over here. Have you been there before? Like, you can find ways to approach, but the point is to have a system set in place where if you see a woman out there, that you do want to approach and she's not showing you signals, that you can still make some kind of move towards her. It ain't got to be like, hey, hot stuff, I want to get with you in this net. Like, you don't know that. You just know you find her levels of attractive and hopefully she's open to talking to you. And so you go and figure that out. Don't put so much stress on yourself to have to go from like, she doesn't know you to now you got to like get on a date right away. Like, try to get a conversation started first. She's open to having a conversation, but don't make it too long. And then towards the end of the conversation, say, hey, it was great talking to you. Real quick, would love to get your number. Here's my phone. And then see where it goes from there. So hopefully that answers your question. We had another question that was left in the comment section. And this person said, I met this girl at a place I frequent, and she comes around every now and then. We made small talk, but last week I asked for the number and got it. Haven't texted her yet. Fantastic. Good for you for actually going out there, meeting a woman and getting a number. That is probably like one of the hardest steps for most guys to do, because there's always that fear that you're going to get rejected or get humiliated, or maybe she's got somebody and now she's going to like react in a very horrible way. So kudos for you for even making that step. Now let's continue. He says, I know I've coached with you before regarding 2 girls I was seeing. He's not seeing them anymore. So I've not dated for like 7 months. But now that I'm going back, did you ever be like, okay, you got the number, but didn't have the motivation to really get things going? I don't know if it's just me. I'm close to your age. I'm 44 now, but have been losing motivation in many things. I think because of the last 2 situations, I had one of them put me in a funk, and I know I needed this to help pull me out. And now that I want to date again, it's like I know a lot of the get downs, as he's a student of mine, but am almost nonchalant about getting things going. Maybe once I do, it'll get me in better spirits. What's your take? Well, it's funny. I just did a whole show about why guys need to be nonchalant in dating, because nonchalant, and by the way, if you ask women, a lot of women, if they want men to be nonchalant in dating, the answer they'll give you is no, because nonchalant means he's not really interested and he's not showing effort. And that is half of a definition of nonchalant, because nonchalant basically just means that you are indifferent to the outcome one way or another. Now, that can be taken a bad way, like where you're just kind of like, I mean, I don't really care what she wants, blah, 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 blah. Like that could be a way. Or you could be like, well, I want to take her out on a date. If she says yes, great. If she says no, it is what it is. I'll find somebody else, right? And so this is going to sound weird, right? But bear with me now. You being at a point where you're losing motivation and you're almost nonchalant about it is actually a really great place emotionally for you as a guy to be when dating. I just, on a personal level, I found that all the times that I was trying to chase after dating. Like I was like, I got to get this girl. I got to get these dates. I got to find these people. I got to make this work, et cetera, et cetera. I found doing all of that usually resulted in me looking like a tryhard. It came across as me being needy and desperate for somebody. And that's the key thing, is that you feeling desperate to women about trying to get with them is never going to attract them. I found at the point that I was honestly kind of tired of dating, I could take her or leave it. I would go to a party and see a girl and just be like, I mean, I guess I'll try talking to her. And if she talks to me, great. But if not, I'll talk to some other people here. It's no big deal. That's when I found I got the most success. Like me not putting so much emphasis on having to get with women. Women could read that and feel like, oh, he's actually comfortable. He's already confident about himself. He seems like he already has a good life. He doesn't seem like he needs any kind of woman's attention. And that made them want to now try to seek out my attention instead of the other way around. This is why I keep telling you guys, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. If she's the one that is putting more effort into getting with you than you are getting with her, that's when I found that the most success in dating happens. So you being at the point where you're like, you're nonchalant, or like you don't feel like you have the motivation and you just feel like, it's maybe not like worth it. Like you should have had that mind frame the entire time, because really your life should be like this. If you get with somebody, great. If you don't get with somebody, fantastic. It's kind of like the same philosophy I have. Like now that I'm in a relationship, I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, not all the time, but like I've told her like, hey, if I travel with you, I know I will have a great time. If you have to stay here because of work and I have to travel solo, I know I will have a great time. Like that's me being nonchalant. Like whether you come or not, I'm going to have a fun time. Ideally, you'll be able to go with me. We'll have make some great memories with each other. But if not, I'm going to go solo and make great memories either with myself or the other people that are there. Like, it is just kind of like chill out. Now, contrast that with the guy that's like, oh, why can't you go with me on this trip? Why don't you ever want to go with, why don't you watch the same shows that I watch? And why don't you go to the same places that I go to? And why don't you have the same interests? And oh my God, does that sound like the energy that women want? It is not. All right. So I will say this. You being at the state that are now means you're likely to probably not care as much with regards to the outcomes. Like, you want to get with somebody, but you're kind of like at the point where it's like, I mean, I'll try again. Hopefully it'll work out. But if not, I guess I'll keep trying. Like, that should be putting you in a state where you're going to be more analytical about who you date. The fact that you got hurt a few months ago is actually also great, because it means you're going to be ideally more cautious and more willing to take your time and vet the person you're dating, versus just assuming because they're pretty and are hot that it should work out. And then you're going to do what? Bring all this desperate energy to the situation that she's going to end up finding not attractive. So to that, I say, if you are currently in a nonchalant state and you're at the point where you're just kind of like, take it or leave it, good. Keep that mind frame going for when you meet that gorgeous 9 or 10 where you initially feel like, oh my God, she's the end all be all. Instead, be like, nope. You know what? I'm going to talk to her. I'm going to maybe get her number, possibly ask her out. She says yes, great. She says no. She saved me a lot of time. Either way, it's great. We're going to go on a date and have a good time. If at the end of that date, she wants to kiss me, fantastic. If she says she wants to wait a little bit, also great. You know what? Between these dates, I am not going to text her. I'm going to wait. Like Harry said, I'm going to wait 4 to 5 days between dates to text her back. If she gets mad at me and can't stand it, well, I learned she's impatient. It is what it is. If I text her after 4 or 5 days and she's like, oh, I want to see you again, also great. Like, notice, there's nothing that's going to be overly hyper now. There's no like, I'm so excited she's going to go on a date with me. It's just like, oh, she wants to go. Great. Or, oh, she can't make it. Okay, I'll find somebody else. Like, that should always be your attitude. And so if you keep your attitude like that, you will find that it'll be a bit easier to date, because you're not overwhelming your senses. You're not overwhelming her with this like overriding care and affection for somebody that you just met. So hopefully that answers your question. Like I said, guys, the show's about you. So if you have any questions that you want me to answer during the course of this show, then you can leave it in the chat. The guy whose question I just answered said, I literally just tuned in, Coach, when you started my question. What's funny is I still haven't set the date up yet and have seen her more frequent at the place ever since. Well, again, so keep in mind, you haven't asked her out, but she is also constantly making herself available in your orbit. So she's giving you a shot. Like, she's definitely letting you know, hey, I'm available whenever you want to hit me up, right? So again, if you're feeling like low motivation, honestly, I found like, when you've gone through some dating trauma or situations, it's very easy to subconsciously think, and the next situation is going to be the same. And so I don't want to feel that. And so your subconscious could basically be trying to protect you. Your subconscious could be like, we don't want to feel whatever hurt that is, or we don't want to have another girl getting us to another funk. So why even try? And so you'll find that your subconscious could be making the rest of your body lose motivation for that as a means of protecting you. Unfortunately, in the dating world, you're not ever 100% protected from being hurt. Like, you can be with somebody for years on end, and then they get cancer or they find somebody else. Like, that's never going to be a thing that goes away. I just don't want that. I want you to be conscious of that part, because at the times that you feel demotivated, you got to really stop and think, why is my body trying to unmotivate me from dating? Like, hey, I had moments like that where it was like, hey, I remember after I broke with my fiance that I dated for like 6 years, I got with somebody, we dated for like a year. It wasn't the right situation, so I got out of it because I just wasn't feeling it. And then I had 4 months of dating where it was like back to back, meeting people on a dating app, going out, going on 3 or 4 dates, and then either I wasn't feeling it or they weren't feeling it, or just we stopped communicating with each other. And I was just like, God, this is a lot. Like, freak, I got to keep dating. And it's like, I've been going 4 months back to back dating. And then after that, I dated somebody during COVID. That went for 18 months. It was pretty good until it just didn't work out. And then I connected with my now wife, So even at the times where I was not feeling motivated, I was like, I would give myself a break. There'd be times where I'd be like, hey, I don't want to date for X amount of time. I want to go get some more money, etc., whatever. But eventually I'd be like, all right, let's get ourselves back out there. And had I not done that, I wouldn't be married now. So I understand the times where you're maybe not the most motivated, but you got to understand that that's your body reacting to previous trauma. and you can't be stuck in that trauma, or else you'll never eventually find somebody that could work out for you. So hopefully that makes you feel a bit more motivated. Not saying that I'm trying to rush you into, hey, if you are having misgivings about this girl, or you're just really not feeling it, then don't go out with her. Like, nobody's ever forcing you to have to date. But I am saying, if you find her legitimately attractive, then there's no reason to be holding yourself back just because of past hurt. Just wanted to say that. See, question in the chat. And the question goes, Harry, I think I am not attractive. So if I change that mindset, will it help me become more attractive? Well, you need to consider that what you find to be attractive and what women find to be attractive are two different things. So I'll just say blanket. Most guys that I've seen be successful and get women and get married are like average blokes, like dudes that have scraggly beards, dudes that are balding, dudes that are pudgy and overweight, get women. You got to stop looking at just solely the looks part of this. You got to look at, if you feel as though your looks are going to be a ding against you, okay, fine. You have to build up other aspects of your life and conversation that women are going to find attractive. And you also have to build up the things that women need in relationships to also be attractive. So for example, an average looking dude that has a decent job, you ain't got to be overly rich, but like a decent job where you can take care of yourself, right? Who knows how to listen, who knows how to be with a woman and let her express things without judging women, who knows how to be the kind of guy that makes women laugh, not being a comedian, mind you, but just knows how to like tell stories and engage in a way that makes women feel like you're connecting with them. Women will find those pieces more attractive. And here's the other thing too that rarely gets talked about, because women will date overly attractive guys initially and then feel threatened the whole relationship that another woman's going to come along and try to get her guy because he's so attractive. So there are a lot of psychological things that have come out about how like women will actually try to make their mate look less attractive after getting with them, whether it's like unintentionally picking out clothes that don't look good or unintentionally going out to buy their husband's meals to make them bigger. So I say this to say, if the looks thing you're looking at is what you think is holding you back, I can assure you it is not. It is your mindset and your belief that that's all that women are looking for. But because when you're walking with that belief though, it carries over into everything you do. It carries over into how you walk around the world. It carries over into your conversations. If you're like with women and you're making light jabs at yourself because you're trying to do it before they get to you, you're showing off that you don't think highly of yourself. And all the things that you're doing by proxy of you not believing that you're attractive are the things that are actually making you not attracted to women. If you were an average to okay looking dude that walked with an air of confidence and knew how to joke with them and was able to tell stories about his life that made women think, man, I'd love to jump into that lifestyle. Trust me, you could probably get women. It really is your self-belief. And I'm talking as a guy that back in the day, in my early 20s, in my high school years, I was considered the weird kid, and I carried that mantra with me into my college years. I'm weird, I'm goofy, I don't look all that attractive, I'm super skinny, and so women aren't gonna want me. You know, I went like 3 years of college not knowing that women were attracted to me. I'd have a female friend tell me maybe 5 years ago that women in her dormitory that I would frequent back in my freshman year had the hots for me. And because I couldn't see it, because I thought I was weird, because I thought that women wouldn't find me attractive, I missed out on all those connections. So I'm telling you this as a guy that lived through, I think I look weird and awkward, women won't want me. There are women out there right now that are probably looking at you that you don't even see because you're in your head thinking, she wouldn't find me attractive. She probably sees this thing in my face or my hair's all weird and she wouldn't want to do. No, it's your own stuff, dude. So I'm saying recognize that, figure out why that is, and then start figuring out what you can do to supplement. Okay, if I don't look the best, what other things about me could I highlight that would make women want to be attracted to me? Just real talk. See, question in the chat here. I am 44 and lack a dating life, but have a lot of things together in life. Really would like to dial things in. Well, I specialize in that. If you want a really deep dive into that, because I'm 44 now and married, you can definitely go to stoplosingwomen.com and sign up for a one-on-one phone consultation. I will say this, that at 44, I don't know how long you've been lacking a dating life, but if you've had bad experiences in the past, I get how it can be demotivating to want to try to get out there and get going. You might not have the skill set. You might not know simple things like where to approach women, how to approach them, what to talk about, how to ask for the number, how to ask them on dates, what the timing is for showing them certain things like complimenting them, getting them flowers, getting them gifts, etc. And so I specialize in that. And like I said, I'm happy to do a deeper dive with you specifically if you want to sign up for one-on-one coaching, because that's the kind of thing that I do. Question in the chat. We got a question in the chat, and the question goes, Coach, I know you have stated if a girl likes you, it doesn't matter when you reach out. Let's see. For the girl that I mentioned, she won't get frustrated and lose interest if I don't set something up soon. I hate this background. I thought this was like a no ads background. So I'm going to read that again. I'm going to find a different background too. I love these little backgrounds they have here. Oh, rainy New York. All right, here we go. So we got a question in the chat, and the question goes, Coach, I know you've stated if a girl likes you, it doesn't matter when you reach out. For the girl that I mentioned, she won't get frustrated and lose interest if I don't set up something soon. Real talk, because again, the woman I'm married to now, like, we met in college. She was my first everything, basically, in terms of getting with girls and hooking up and all this other stuff. And then I left college and she was still in college. I don't do long distance relationships. So I didn't connect. After I left college, I didn't talk to her for like a year. I came back into the home city because I ran out of money and lived back with my mom. We connected again for a few months, and then I moved to Atlanta. Didn't talk to her for 2 years. Moved back to DC because I had some things popping off that I needed to be in DC for. We reconnected again. Went out for like 3 or 4 months, and then I had the opportunity to move up to California. She was in law school. I was moving to California. She was in law school in the East Coast. We could not be together. So we kind of distanced ourselves yet again. We reconnected at homecoming a few years later. But again, I was still in California, wasn't going to do long distance. And then she got busy doing some other things. I got busy dating people out here and do whatnot. Didn't see each other for like 9 years. Around 2022, we reconnected. I reached out and said, hey, like, because she had expressed at one time that like she might be open moving out here. So I reached out to her and said, hey, like, you know, you should like come out here and visit and let's reconnect. We reconnected. We decided that, hey, we wanted to kind of be together, but with like, she was still finishing up stuff on the East Coast. So we kind of on and off dated. Well, not on and off. At that point, we were just dating consistently, but we were just long distancing it with the caveat that she was already saying she was going to move out here. So we dated for 9 months with her in that city, but we saw each other like every month, right? And then eventually she moved out here. But I said it to say we went 9 years without talking to each other. And then I reached out to her with one message saying, hey, you should come out here and visit. And she said, okay. Why? Because she always had high interest in me. So I say that to say, no, if you wait a little bit, if she has high interest, she's not going to necessarily go away. Now, that said, my advantage was that we had already connected in college, right? If you have not connected with her, there might be less of a timeline that you can use. But I would say if she's trying to see you every day and talk to you every day, she's hoping eventually you're going to ask her out. Now, I will say that if you're not making a move, that can come across as you not being as masculine of a guy as she thought you were. And she could very easily try to connect with somebody else if you never ask her out. So I would say this. I get that you might be not as motivated. You might be thinking you want to wait a little bit, and she might wait. She might see you every day for 9 months and decide she still wants to like try to connect with you. But at some point, if you don't crap and get off the pot and ask her out, she could eventually want to see somebody else. That's just real talk, because she can't wait forever on you to eventually ask her out, you know, especially as women get older, they're on a timeline, they're trying to think about starting a family and kids. And so if she's at some point, if she's like, this dude's bullcrapping, like he's not going to ever ask me out, she'll move on. You know, right now you haven't hooked up with her. So she has no physical connection that's going to make her want to bond to you and stay loyal to you. Right now, though, the cards are in your hands to play them. Ideally, and here's the thing, don't think you got to like ask her out and have it be high pressure. You could say something simple like, hey, this coffee shop opened up. I was thinking about checking it out after this workout or after whatever place you met her at. You want to go check it out with me? Something stupid simple like that. You ain't got to try to plan like a $300 date or try to like profess love. In fact, ideally, you have no kind of love for her yet because you don't really know her enough to have that kind of emotion. So that's what I'm saying. You're in the perfect space right now to like really work that out. So hopefully that answers your question. So y'all said the guy that's 44 years old, sign up for coaching, it's worth it. Yes, thank you. As I said, I love doing phone sessions because I can really help you figure out any kind of setbacks you're having, any kind of psychological barriers you're having, any previous traumas that might be, causing you to not have so much success in dating, and then also help you map out a blueprint for what your dating life could look like in a real way that's not going to overwhelm you and not overwhelm the women that you want to get with, you know? So again, you check that out at stoplosingwomen.com. Let's see. All right. So let's get it. That was a lot. Let's get into the topic at hand today. Okay, guys. So today we're talking about romance. We're talking about, does showing less romance actually result in better dating and relationship results? I want to show you an actual Reddit post that I found after thinking up today's topic of the show, right? So I'm going to show this on my screen here. So this guy had a post he put up in Reddit, and his question was, is this doing too much? So I'm going to read this. I have this on the phone here because I find when I try to scroll stuff on here while I'm reading it to you guys, I get slowed down on the video, and I don't want that. So this guy said, he's 20, so he's 21, and the woman that he's interested in is 20 years old. All right, stick with me. So this guy says, I have been talking to this girl I hit up on Instagram for a few weeks now. He's already making mistakes by having just talked to her instead of eventually just asking her out. And let me just tell you guys, if you meet a woman on a dating app, through Facebook, Instagram, any kind of social media platform, and you send her a message and she starts actively talking to you, you shouldn't talk to her for more than 2 or 3 days max before you ask her on a date. Otherwise, you become a digital pen pal, and that gets frustrating to women. If they're conversating with you, more often than not, it's because they want you to ask them out. But they're not going to say, hey, ask me out on a date. They're going to just hope that by her responding to you, you're getting the idea that she likes your company and wants to see you in person. I digress. So he says, the conversation has been going really well, and we plan on meeting up soon. But since we've never met in person, before I suggested that we could hang out first to get comfortable with each other before I ask her on a real date. Well, again, this guy's taking the chicken route because he's trying to do the whole, let's do a hangout, as if to say asking for a date is too much pressure. Guys, for women, a date is simply an inquiry. It is a way to find out more about you. It is not signaling all out lovey-dovey stuff. I think guys make the mistake of thinking a date equals I'm trying to show her that I love her and we're already going out as boyfriend and girlfriend. It is none of that. It is simply an inquiry. Yes, it's when you're probably paying for because you're probably going to pay for the meal. But again, it is not indicative of you guys are fully on a couple now. So let's get that thought process out of our heads with regards to what asking a woman on a date actually means. It is not as huge of a deal as you're making it out to be to her. All right. Anyway, so he wants to do a hangout, and she agreed. He said, throughout our conversation, though, I've been keeping tabs on stuff she mentions that she likes, including, but not limited to, her favorite foods and snacks. With that, so this is the picture, you see, I made this basket of some of her favorite things, and I'm wondering if it'd be too much by giving it to her on the hangout day. She's never dated before, but she's really pretty. Here we go again. She's pretty, therefore she deserves this. And I don't want to put her off by doing too much up front. So you see the little gift basket made here. He's thinking this. I want to show her that I listen to her and that I already care enough about her to take the things that she tells me seriously enough to act on them. And that is very admirable. And it's not going to win him points with this woman. But women will have you think that. How do I know? Well, I'm going to read some of the comments under this video from women. I'll take this picture down. Some of the comments under this video include, as a woman, I would love to get this. In my opinion, I would give it to her. Very thoughtful. Spoken as a person that's never had to date women and see the reactions that women actually have when you give them gifts so early on in the dating process. Another person says, maybe don't give her the basket, but give her one of the Reese's as a small gesture that you pay attention. Girls love it when a guy remembers certain details about what their favorite food, drink, or snacks are. Let's see. Another one here said, let's see. There was another one here that I saw that I really hated a lot. Let's see. Just blah, 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 blah. I said it's too much. Don't give it to her. And then somebody said, Somebody said, "Oh crap, you might be cooking with this. I fear. I think it's a really sweet and thoughtful gesture. Be aware that some people may be put off by it. If you do, blah 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 blah." Okay, let's see. Yeah, so a lot of girls were saying like, basically you should go ahead and do it, and I would love this, and that, right? Why are they saying that? Why are they saying that they'd love that? And this is where guys get confused by when women give advice, thinking that, oh, this woman's telling me this thing because it would work in the dating realm. Women are typically saying these things would work, but they're not realizing they're saying it as if to say, this would work on me from a guy that I'm already invested in and is already the boyfriend. So women will convince you that doing boyfriend-like actions during the dating phase is going to win you points. And then you do those actions, and what happens? The woman's like, what are you doing? Oh my God, this is a lot. I didn't get you anything. I didn't know you were going to do this for me. And you're thinking on the date, I won points. And then next thing you know, she's ghosting you and all this other stuff. Now, I'm talking about this from the perspective of a person that in his college years, when I would get dates, would do exactly what this guy's talking about. I remember I went on a first date with a girl, and she mentioned that she really loved Disney on Ice. She was a big fan of it since she was a little girl, and she always had a good time. And so I happened to look up that Disney on Ice was coming to the location near where our college was. And so I was all super excited. I think at the time the tickets cost like $37 a pop. I don't know. Oh yeah, I had a scholarship. I used some of my scholarship monies to be able to get us a pair of tickets to go see Disney on Ice. Why? Because I listened, because I heard it's what she really liked and enjoyed. And since it made her have good feelings, if I got her the tickets to go see this Disney on Ice show, she would now equate those good feelings with me. And so I hit her up and said, hey, I got a surprise date for us. Are you free on this day and time? Oh, sure, I'm ready. Great. So I pick her up and I drive her to the location and I pull up and I'm like, surprise, we're going to Disney on Ice. And her little reaction was like, oh, we are. Oh, that's great. No enthusiasm, no excitement. We get to the thing and I'm sitting next to her this whole time, like looking at Disney on Ice. I'm having a great time. But I notice I'm looking over to her. She doesn't have a happy expression on her face. She's kind of like nervous half the time. Anyway, after that date, I try to ask her out again. All of a sudden, she's too busy. She's ghosting me, blah, 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 blah. And that happened several times in my dating journey with other women, whereby either I'd have a crush on them and I would try to like get them a certain gift that I knew they would like because they told me they like this certain artist or certain thing. And time after time, I never got the result in terms of the reaction that I thought I was going to get. And not long after I would do those things, it would result in them suddenly being ghost or not wanting to see me or giving me the let's just be friends speech, which I'm sure all of you are very, very familiar with. So as I got older, I stopped doing that stuff. I stopped doing overly romantic gestures. I stopped trying to plan, high-end, high-value dates to concerts and dinners and stuff like that. And I kept everything super low-key. I stopped gifting women things. I stopped trying to over-compliment them. I darn near would be like trying to do like $5 or $10 dates to like comedy shows or to pizza places, stuff that I wasn't going to spend damn near any money on at all. And would you believe it? I got more hookups. I got more women coming to me trying to get dates. I got more women chasing me, which means I couldn't be replaced by them, right? And so I want to bring to your guys' attention this idea that I had, which was, does less romance equal better results in the dating world? Now, I use that as a bit of a fish bait, whatever it's called, because it's not necessarily about being less romantic, but it is about understanding the timing at which romance is supposed to happen during the dating phase. And it's very important because if you don't know how to time when romance is supposed to happen, you're going to do it too early. You're going to mess it up. She's going to feel like things are moving way too fast. And next thing you know, you're going to be at home with Hansy and her 5 rosy palm friends instead of on a date escalating with a woman, right? So let's talk about this, right? So to start off with, where do I want to start with this? To start off with, most guys have this belief that we learn from media, from movies and TV and music, that, we hear all these songs, for example, about how I'm going to, throw down the flower petals for you and I'm going to be able to get you a Birkin bag and take you on all these trips and do all these things. And I'm going to gift you with massages and we're going to watch the sunrise in Italy and Milan and it's going to be so great, right? So all these things are hyping us up to believe this one thing, which is that If I show her how much I care from the beginning in a big way, then she's going to see that I love her and like her and care for her, and it's only going to make her like me more. That is the belief that men are taught time and time again. And so what do? We don't want to be the guy that's the jerk guy that's, making her have to guess how much we like her. No. We want to do all the things. We want to take her on trips. I've heard so many stories of female friends of mine talking about like they went out with a guy, and then for the second date, they're proposing going to Hawaii, going to London, going to Paris, going on some extravagant excursion. Like, I have some hot female friends that have said this time and time again, right? At no time are these women overly attracted to the guys that were asking this. Like the trips did not make these women want to suddenly be like, oh my God, he wants to take me to Hawaii. I have all these feelings. Didn't happen. But what do we do as guys? Because we're very literal. We hear in the songs, you do these things, you get women. So we overinvest too early into her life, trying to help her with stuff. We try to lock her in and lock her down really, really quickly because we think that's what women want. We think that after 1 or 2 dates, why are we still playing games? She knows I like her, and I don't want to make her think that I don't, so I'm going to propose a relationship. We end up having low perceived value by the women as a result, because if you had any value, you wouldn't be trying to just give away yourself and all the things you have to offer to her so quickly on in the process. And of course, unbeknownst to you, what it comes across to her as is you're trying to seek validation. And women get very suspicious and wary from a guy that too early on in the dating process is doing all these things to try to seek out validation. Now, why does all this end up backfiring on you? All right. Here's the thing, is that for one, I have 4 points here. For one, it removes mystery and tension, right? In the beginning, women actually need to have levels of not knowing where you're coming from with regards to your feelings for her, your desires for her, and how much you actually are willing to do for her. A woman on date one should know that you're already ready to die for her. Like, as a married guy, that comes in marriage. That comes as like, hey, I'm committing my life to you so much so that if harm comes your way, I know I got to jump in front of a bullet, in front of a car, in front of a knife. Like, I've signed up for that. I get it. It is what it is. But that's earned over time. Like, my wife earned that, right? Day one, you're already like, I'm down to sacrifice my time and effort for you. That's going to be really big. But more importantly, it's going to let her feel, oh, he already believes I'm his end all be all. We've only been on one date. We've spent 90 minutes together, and he's already decided I'm the one. That's a lot of pressure for a woman. That's a lot of pressure for her to feel off of just a couple of dates, right? And so understand that for women, her attraction for you is going to be built through spending time with you, plus also having some space from you and being a little curious about what's happening with you. Like, when you're not in front of her, she's going to be thinking, what's going on? What's he doing? What's he up to? Who's he talking to? Is he going to call me again? And you remove all of that by doing these overly big, grand romantic gestures early on. And unfortunately, if you're always giving so much of yourself that early, there is nothing for her to wonder about. And I get guys oftentimes hate when I say there's got to be wonder and mystery with women, because that's not how we function and operate. Like, we want to know, right? So we need to be in the know about stuff. But she, very much as part of her building attraction, does not need to know every single thing. It's why women will be like, when you ask them on a date and you're like, well, where should we go? Their response is like, I don't know, wherever you want to go. Like, she doesn't want to know what's going to be happening all the time. But when you allow her to just know every single thing, what you're going to do for all this other stuff, you're not giving her the space and the time to be curious about what you would do for her to build that attraction. The second thing, too much romance early on. The second reason that too much romance early on backfires is because it feels uncalibrated. Think about this, right? She's still trying to figure you out. You just asked her on a date, took her out for a good time. She still needs 2 to 3 months of time spent with you to see how she feels about you, to make sure that there's a correlation and a consistency about who you're being on all these dates. So even though she could start out with a decent amount of interest, like we'll use Doc Love scale, 51% interest to 90% interest is what we want, right? So if in the beginning, she says yes to a date, she might only have like 57% interest, which is enough to like, I'm curious about this guy and I kind of want to see what he's about before I invest more feelings in him. That's the energy she's coming with on these dates. And you're coming with, I've already decided about you. My interest is already at 95%. it feels unbalanced. And this is why sometimes you'll be dating a girl and all of a sudden she'll say, I mean, I feel like it's rushed. Like I feel like you're already at a certain place with like how you feel about me, and I'm just not there yet. And I feel it's unfair to you because I don't know if I'm gonna get there. This is why it's better to go at a slower pace than her, because if her interest is 57 and you're showing your interest at being like 55, then for her, that's going to feel a bit more even because you got to catch up to her. And more importantly, it puts her in a position where she feels like, oh, I got to now do things to prove myself, to bring his energy and his interest in me up to mine, right? And so that's why when you're showing too much early on, it feels uncalibrated. Basically, you're responding to your feelings, but not the reality of where the relationship actually is. You're thinking, because I have all these feelings now, why wouldn't I show all this stuff? And you're thinking you're doing that because you don't want to play games. What you're actually doing is being selfish, because you're looking at this as if to say, I know my feelings are here already, therefore I need to show that. And you're not looking at, but what does she need right now? Where's the dynamic realistically at with regards to feelings that she has and the time you guys have spent together and where everything actually is? Just because your feelings are up here, which, spoiler guy, for the most part, they're going to usually be up there earlier, because as a guy and with testosterone, part of our motivation is to be able to bang these chicks so they can have our kids. We have the motivation to let go of our seed into them, and they're the ones that are like, their job is to sit back and wait for the right seed to come along to impregnate them. So just know it's not playing games. Your brain is going to trick you into thinking that you already like this girl, because part of your subconscious motivation is to hook up with her to pass along your DNA. You have to know that, so that way you'll know that your subconscious is going to blind you to the reality sometimes of where things actually are with regards to where she's at. You're at a 10, she's at a 4.6 still trying to get to know you. So if you have to like curtail back what you think you're feeling in order to stay in the moment of where she's at, then you got to do that, because you're thinking after 2 dates, I'm ready to show her all the romantic things and give her all the gifts and sacrifice all this stuff. She's never going to be there that fast. Like even a girl that's like, I'm already at like 70%. She's not at the level yet where she's ready to fully dedicate her time, effort, and energy to you. And you doing overly romantic gestures early on is going to push her way more, because it's going to feel unequal. The third reason why too much romance backfires early on is because it feels like pressure. You doing big gestures early on is going to equate with expectations that you have of her. Now, you're not thinking that. You're thinking, I'm just trying to, get her these gifts like this guy did out of the goodness of my heart, because I really am listening and really do care for her already, even though, again, a lot of that's lust, but it is what it is. But to her, it comes across as you trying to potentially bribe her. Like she starts thinking things like, why is he giving me all these gifts? What does he want from me? What is the expectation he actually has? Like this gift, these things he's saying about me and always praising me, this and that. There's got to be an ulterior motive. And to be fair, she don't know you, but she does know in her dating past guys that did this stuff and were actually trying to use her and actually trying to like hook up with her fast and then bail on her. So you got to understand her dating history is riddled with guys that are doing what you're doing right now, trying to overly compliment and overly show. And it ended up being, it was all a ruse to just get something out of her. So I get that you don't have nefarious intent, but you got to look at like, what has she gone through? And for her, you're trying to give out of the goodness of your heart. And for her, it's feeling more like a transaction. Like, oh, if he gives me this gift, I now feel he's trying to make me feel obligated to do bedroom stuff, or obligated to give him money or drive him around town or be loyal, all sorts of stuff. And that early on in the process, it's not warranted. So when you do these things, understand you're not trying to apply pressure. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. It matters how she's taking it. And how she's taking it is, this was like a lot of pressure. And now I don't feel like dating him is going to be my choice. I don't feel like I'm able to naturally get to where I feel these things for him, because he's trying to force it by giving me all these things romantically. And so I'm out. And then the fourth reason why too much romance can backfire is because it lowers the value of the gesture itself. There's this notion that, if somebody has too much of something, they don't appreciate it, right? And so when you don't make a woman work for your romance and you're just freely giving it, over time, it's going to be taken for granted. Like this guy right now, right? This guy is talking about trying to take a bunch of gifts to a woman that he just met. So on the first outing, he's going to try to give her gifts. That now sets the stage for, that's her expectation. Every time she sees this guy from now on, a gift is going to be expected. And so what that does is now it lowers the value of when he would give gifts versus, let's say those first 3 months, he doesn't get her any gifts. He's not over complimenting her. He's not talking about the future. Those things have to be earned. Now they get to month 3 and he decides on month 3, now that they're boyfriend and girlfriend, he's going to surprise her with like an in-town hotel stay. That's going to feel more romantic and it's going to be more appreciated because he made her wait 3 months to get that. And then a couple months later, hey, babe, I was out today and I just really thought about how great you are and I got you these flowers. Oh, my God, these are so great. No guy's ever given me flowers. And he made her wait for 5 months to get flowers. So that flower gesture is going to now be felt a lot more intensely and it's going to be appreciated more than on date 1, he got me flowers. On date 2, he got me flowers. On date 3, he got me flowers again. Like, it becomes monotonous. It becomes predictable. And predictability with women really can be a turnoff over time, all right? So this is why you should not be doing these big romantic gestures early on. Now, with that said, I'm not saying don't ever do romance ever, right? What I am saying is that romance, to be most effective, is about timing and about contrast, all right? So if you're being romantic, but it's too frequent, it's too early, it's unearned, and it's predictable, you are not going to impress her. Like, she's had so many guys at this point promise her a trip somewhere on the second date and a $300 dinner on the first date and getting her flowers and candy on another date, like blah, 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 blah. By the time a woman hits like 25, most women have been through all those cycles and none of those dudes are around anymore. So that shows you that those gestures aren't the things that keep women around. Again, this is why you look for women that are highly interested, because highly interested women, you don't have to do all this stuff to impress them. And honestly, the more high interested they are, the more, if you do more of those gestures, it's going to be even more of like a, oh, but I already had interest. Why is it doing the most? So you ain't got to do all that, right? Now, if you want to be effective with romance, you want to do romance and show it where it's occasionally happening. You do it at times where it's well-timed. You do it based on the investment that she's already placed in you. And you do things that are slightly unexpected. Like for example, you know, famously, a lot of couples will say, we don't even celebrate Valentine's Day. And those guys are smart because those guys are showing romance sporadically throughout the year at times that are like, hey, it's a random Tuesday and I just thought of you, babe, versus like, okay, birthdays and holidays and Mother's Day, I'll get her flowers. That becomes what? That becomes predictable, and therefore it becomes very much not appreciated, versus if you do it sporadically throughout the year on holidays and birthdays, you ain't got to do nothing. Well, here's a funny story, right? So for example, this year, I was doing a clinical trial. So in February, I wasn't doing a lot of lives because I was doing a clinical trial. I just went up for a follow-up for it today. So that's done now, so I can talk about it. But if I say so, I wasn't going to be home for our first Valentine's Day as a married couple. Now, my wife, to her credit, she's like, hey, it is what it is. We can go out somewhere, do something when you get back. It is whatever, right? So she was not expecting to get anything from me on the day of Valentine's Day because I wasn't going to be home. I was going to be in the hospital, right? And so what did I do? Before I went to the hospital, I put together a Valentine's Day box that had cookies in it and chocolate and a little stuffed little bear and a little like bit of like a Prosecco alcohol, like wine bottle, whatever. Put it in a Valentine's Day box with some decoration stuff on it. And I put it in the garage where I knew she would not see it. And then I let it sit there for 3 weeks. And on Valentine's Day, I sent her a picture of the box and where it was located. And she was just like, oh my God, I didn't expect it, blah, blah, blah. This, blah, blah, blah. Why? Because it was unexpected. She assumed because I was going to be in the hospital, it wasn't going to happen, which meant that when I did do the gesture on the particular holiday, it was taken as a very special thing. I've been out of the hospital for a few weeks. I think I bought her flowers like one time, but like I don't spend my days like every single day trying to get her flowers and saying the most romantic stuff and trying to like take her out every single night. No, I take her out once a week. I do flowers occasionally, and we flirt all the time with each other. We just hooked up last night. Spoiler, like we flirt with each other enough. We are both very highly interested in each other to where we can just be in each other's company and know that we care about each other. And I don't have to do a whole lot of extra for that to be happening. right? But that was also how it was when I was dating. Like, I wasn't texting her all the time and calling her all the time. Like, it's just, you got to understand that, like, again, when you do those things sporadically, at the times that you do them, they mean a lot more because they are unexpected, and they are taken in as more intense because they don't know when you're going to do it again. That's part of the unknowing of when that's going to happen. So understand that romance works best when it feels like it's a moment from time to time that's happening and not like a routine. When you're doing romantic gestures from the get-go, they start to feel less personalized to women, and they start thinking, oh, he just does this thing with every girl. He promises every girl a trip. He takes every girl out to this extra, expensive dinner or concert or whatever. And it's not having the same effect that you want it to have, which is, I want to be able to do a gesture that makes her feel so much like for me. And if you're doing that during the dating phase, especially, you're not going to get the outcome you want. Because again, the dating phase is about getting to know each other, but also it's about showing the other person why you deserve for them to actually like show you more care and appreciation. And you just freely giving it to her in the beginning, it's going to feel unearned. It's going to feel like you do this for everybody. It's not going to be appreciated the way you want it to be appreciated. And that's really why it's not going to be as effective as you're wanting it to be, right? So understand this, guys. At the end of the day, I'll just give you guys some practical tips in terms of romance stuff, right? So for one, do not reward women who have not shown you a high level of interest. During the dating phase, her interest is going to start low and it's going to build. At the point where it's built to a decent level, she will come to you and ask you about being in a relationship. At the point that you're in a relationship, guess what, guys? She's now earned the right for you to show some romantic gestures. Now, I'll say this with saying, dating itself, you're going to be thinking like, well, is Harry saying don't do romance? To women, you asking her on a date and showing up on time is romantic. You asking her out in the first place for future dates and then actually planning the date, that's going to be seen as a romantic gesture. You escalating to the bedroom and then putting it down for a really good, and then also asking her what she likes and doesn't like, that's going to feel like a romantic gesture. But it's not anything that feels like you're simping for her or putting her on a high pedestal, right? And so you got to separate the moves that are normal to do during the dating phase, that she just by proxy of that, she's going to take as romantic, versus you doing these routines that are like, okay, he does everybody. And also, again, her high interest is going to have her put you in the lens of anything you do already is probably going to feel to her like it's romance because she wants it to be that way because she has such high interest. And that's why I talked about, like, women read 3 times more into things we're doing than is necessary, which is why if you're doing 3 times as much, it feels like overkill. You asking for the date, she's going to be over the moon that the person she has a high interest in is actually showing some interest back by asking her out. So you don't have to do so much more than that in order for her to feel that. But if you do too much more, it feels like you're now forcing it, and then she's going to be ghost, right? So make sure you're matching her investment level. And again, your interest level in her should be showing as if it's slightly lower than hers, because we want hers to be higher, so she feels as though this is always her decision to be around you, right? Also, keep early interactions fun, not serious. Guys, yes, she wants to be in a romance story, but you get into these serious conversations about, I see a future together, I can see you having my kids, or, oh, we need to talk more on the phone with me because I want to see you all the time. That's not fun. Women equate fun with feeling like they're in a love story. Oh, I can just be my free self around him. He's always making me laugh. He's always showing me a good time. That to women is going to feel romantic, to where you doing these extra gestures is not going to be necessary. Also, save the big gestures for when she's earned the emotional access, which really is at the point that you guys get into a relationship. See, guys make the mistake of thinking all these romantic things need to be done during the dating process. Women want to feel those things from guys they're already highly interested in and already in a relationship with. So save some of the bigger gestures for when you're in a relationship with her, where at that point she'll feel as though she did enough to earn that big concert, to earn that really big trip, to earn that really big gift you want to get her based on how you listened about her talk about stuff. Like, those will be bigger deals when you're in a relationship. In the dating phase, she's just trying to get to know you, to see that you're not going to unalive her and that she can trust herself around you. That's it. So she's focusing on those things. So focus on those things with her. And then later on, you can focus on like the bigger romantic stuff. Then also, more importantly, let her wonder how much you like her early on. Like, again, I get that you as a guy are like, but I can't do that. I got to be honest and be authentic. I'm not saying lie to a chick. But I am saying is you got to curtail how much interest in her you think you have. Again, part of that is lust. So all these feelings you think you have about wanting to be romantic, a lot of that is you want to sleep with her and you think you got to do all this romantic stuff to try to bribe her into the bedroom, which women can read. Women can read when you're trying to do stuff to try to just get her into the sack. And it's not going to play over as well as you think it is. Think about all the bad boys that have probably gotten this woman into bed. They weren't giving her gifts. They weren't trying to be romantic. They were just trying to do what? Show her a fun time and make her feel good enough to where she could trust herself around them to want to get in the bedroom. And she might be crying over those guys later. I'm not saying be 100% like those guys. I'm saying learn from those guys that they attract women in part because they're not being so romantic. And all you got to do is do that part, but then wait 3 months to get into a relationship and have on the back of your head on standby, when we get into a relationship, I'm going to pull out the stops occasionally. Not all the time, occasionally. Because that's the best way to play this to where it's going to have the impact you fully want, which is when you do romantic gestures, she feels it, she appreciates it, and she responds by doing romantic gestures of her own to show her appreciation for you because she's going to recognize that she also needs to be doing romantic stuff to you. All right. So hopefully that dispels the myth of like, you got to be so overly romantic. I just found in my dating life, less was more. I find in my married life that being less romantic still gets me a lot of great feedback with regards to like when we do go out, she has a great time. When I do say something that's really nice or overwhelmingly like, hey, I really, really love you or I appreciate you, that it's taken in the way I want it to be taken versus, trust me, as a married guy, I'm not saying I love you to my wife every day. I'm not. I'm showing things. I'm, cleaning up here sporadically, making dinners. I'm, putting it down in the sack pretty good. At least I hope. I mean, she seems to be very happy with it, so, but like, I'm not, verbalizing love yous every day or trying to get her flowers all the time. Ain't got to do that. We have a day-to-day where we respect each other. We're highly interested and it's great. But best believe if every 3 or 4 weeks I get her a flower sporadically, she's very appreciative. So take that as you will. Let's see if there's any other questions in the chat. I will be happy to answer them. We do have one right now. So this guy left the question in the chat and he says, Coach, say it's my first date with this girl and I live in a nice area with parks. Would you hesitate on bringing her back to the crib or let the mystery build? Ooh. All right. So this is where you gotta lean into learning how to read the vibes of women with regards to where they're at and really, really listening for what they're saying to see if that's the vibe they're even ready for, right? I'll give you a perfect example, right? So years ago, I went on a first date with this girl and I took her out to a Mexican restaurant. Well, I was trying to take her to a Mexican restaurant. What had happened was it was a chain Mexican restaurant that we have in California here. I took her it was like a Tuesday night. I took her to the first location and it was Taco Tuesday. So they were already full. I said, not a problem. I got another place for us to go. So I took her to the same name place at a different location. We get there and they're also booked up. Again, this is why I tell you guys, you always got to have at least 4 or 5 backup plans in case the place you want to go to is closed down, not working out, etc. Right? So I said, all right, no problem. I got another place. I took this chick to TGI Fridays. Again, I tell you guys, you ain't got to do a lot of romantic stuff in order to impress women that are already highly interested, right? So I take her to TGI Fridays, laughing it up, having a good time. Get to the end of the date. We walk out of the restaurant and I can just, again, I'm looking at the vibes. I'm looking at, we're walking next to each other close by. She's looking at me out with those like googly eyes. I'm looking at her and I'm just like, you know what? In this moment, I just feel like it's time for a kiss. And I just looked at her and just kissed her before we got back to my car. It's fantastic, right? So now at this point, I'm like, okay, again, on first dates, my agenda is not to hook up with anybody. My agenda is to show a woman the best time I possibly can in whatever capacity that means. If it so happens we do some stuff, fantastic. But if not, again, being nonchalant. If we hook up, great, fantastic. It'll add to our great time. If we don't, great, fantastic. Still had a great time. I'll catch you next time, right? So I'm thinking that's going to be good. I'm going to drop her off at her place. It'll be good to go. So we're driving. We pull up in front of her house. And I say, oh, here we are. She's okay, great. And now she's just sitting there. And so now we're just kind of talking a little bit back and forth. And then she says to me, oh, this night's been so great. I wish it didn't have to end. What am I supposed to do? So I literally I was like, what's like some basic crap I can just say that I'm just going to see if this works. And I literally just said to her, I mean, if you don't want the night to end, like I got like a bottle of wine at my place and I got some Netflix movies I was going to watch. Like if you want to come back with me to, okay, sure, but barely finish the sentence. Okay, sure, no problem, blah, blah. Now, I, as the guy, had to know the vibe she was throwing out. The vibe she was throwing out was, I had a great date and I'm not going to say I want to go back to your place, but I'm going to let you know that I don't want the night to end, and do with that what you will. And that's what women are going to do. Women aren't going to be the ones that are overly direct and say, hey, I had a good time, let's go back to your place. Because again, you got to think about the public face of this, right? She needs to be able to say to her girlfriends later, I had such a good time and I just had such a great time with him. And then he just out of nowhere invited me back to his place to, drink some wine and watch movies. And I was just like, I just wanted to, spend more time with him. So I said, okay. That looks better than her saying, and then we got back to my place and I said, I want to come over to your place and bang your brains out. So we did. Public facing. So I say this because if you take on a date, right, you got to be looking for the vibes on the date that indicate to her that you're ready to take things back to the crib. Now, you can set certain things up to make her feel like it's okay for her to ask about those things that then give her motive to suggest something that would suggest going to your place. So I always tell guys example, right? Like you could tell, you take her on a date to the park or wherever you're going to take her. And then during the course of the date, you can say something like, yeah, I got this really cool piece of artwork that I got in whatever location. And it's this picture and it's this and that. Ugh, you really got to see it sometime. But anyway, move on to some other subject, right? You've now left out a piece of bait for her to jump onto. So you get to the end of the date, you might hear her sporadically say, hey, you know what? I'd really like to see that piece of artwork you were talking about. It sounds like it was really, really cool. Oh, at that point, you didn't suggest she come back to your place. She latched onto something you said, which was you have this cool piece of artwork, or you have an interesting looking toilet, or you have, you just got your kitchen redone or whatever, and you left that out for her to grab onto. And a woman that is highly interested and wants to hook up will say, we'll take the thing that you put out there and say, hey, why don't we go back and see that picture? Hey, I'd love to see your kitchen. Hey, you said you have some weird tasting coffee. I want to try that coffee. All you did was just leave, but that's the game. That's why I say, women aren't mad at dudes that have game, because the game is what can either person do to put something on the chessboard to help the other person decide if they want to be helpful in making that next move. So you ain't got to say, hey, let's go back to my place and sleep around. But you can say during the date, hey, I got some cool stuff at my apartment you should check out sometime. And then see if that next time is this time. Hey, you mentioned this thing earlier. I'm kind of curious as to what that is. Like, it's so stupid easy if you just set it up like that, right? But all that to say, like, it's not that you need to hesitate. It's just, again, feel the vibes, feel what she's saying. If she says something like the girl I just told you, where she's like, oh, this date's been so fun, I really don't want it to end. Or if sometimes girls will do this, they'll be like, hey, the date's close to being over. And then she'll say something like, so what are you going to do after this? That's usually code for if it sounds like you're going to do something that's fun that I could get into, I'm game to do it. And so you could basically say like, I was going to go back to my place and watch insert name of like the most popular thing in popular media right now that you could mention that she might possibly want to try to watch also. So you could say something like, I'm going to go back and watch like the Diddy doc or K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm going to watch this, this thing on Netflix or TV or this, whatever like that. Like you throw something out there, or I'm going to go back to my place for a little bit and I'm actually going to, there was this cake I was going to cook. And so I'm going to go back and try to cook this cake. If she's like, oh, that sounds like so much fun, she's not going to necessarily say, that sounds like so much fun, can I go with you and do that? Because that might still be a little too forward. But you could be like, yeah, hey, would you care to like come by to get some cake? Like, I'm going to cook it. It's going to take like 20 minutes. So if you want to slice and you want to just kind of like talk and chat while making the cake, then you're going to come by. At that point, you're just putting it out there. And again, this is where it's good to be nonchalant, because you say something like that, she might be like, I really can't make it this time because, I got other things to do. That's code for, I do want to sleep with you, not this time. But she could also say, yeah, that sounds fun. I'd love some cake. Let's do that. That could be very well code for, I want to spend more time with you. It could be code for, I want to sleep with you. But regardless of what her reaction is, you're just like even keel. If she wants to come back to your place to make some cake, fantastic, great. If she doesn't, hey, fantastic, great. You had a good time this time, and maybe you'll ask her out next time, right? But either way, just feel for the vibe of that and don't put so much on yourself to be in your head about like, oh, I can't decide if I'm going to take it back or if that's a good move. Feel the vibe, feel what she's putting down, put out some little crumbs that she can grab onto and see if she grabs onto them, and then listen to what she's saying that could be indicators of her wanting to take her wanting you to take what she's saying and taking it as, hey, stupid, invite me back to your place. If you don't get that vibe at all, if you don't get anything she says that indicates that she wants that, then just don't invite her. Again, you'll have another chance to take her out. But again, hopefully some of what I said will give you an idea of like the kind of things to listen for and the kind of things to put out there that could potentially result in you going to the happy land at your place. Just saying. Let's see. Another question from the same guy says, if the signs were there, which I'm sure even though you knew you had it in the bag, you still prolong the house hangout, not for you being prude, but just to make things interesting on your end. Well, at the end of the day, here's the thing. At the end of the day, a woman is designed to follow your lead, right? Now, if she's at a point where she starts hinting that she wants to go back to your place, that's always fantastic. That's an indicator of interest. That indicates that she's physically interested in you. But that does not mean you have to grab onto it. Like I said, I've had times where I was just like, hey, this isn't the right time. Or like, I remember I went on a date with one chick where like at the end of the second date, I kissed her and I saw all the ways I could make the next move to make her feel comfortable enough with me to invite me up to her place. And I decided not to make those moves and to wait for the next time. And the next time we went out, we went on a hike, had a good time, and I had to drop her back off at her place, at which point she said, hey, you want to come up for some coffee? Again, not like it's all these lines that sound like so generic and so cliche and so stupid are very much the lines that work time and time again. Hey, come up to for guys, it's hey, come up to my place and Netflix and chill. For women, it's hey, come up to my place for coffee. Like these things are used for a reason because they work very, very well, right? So all that to say again, she's going to follow your lead. If she puts something out there and you decide for whatever reason, maybe you're like, I still need more time to get to know her. I don't want to rush into it. So you can say, if she's like, hey, look, I don't want the date to end up. You could be like, hey, I don't want it to end either, but like, oh, I got some other stuff I got to get to. But hey, you know what? Like, it was great spending time with you. And like, we'll have to do this again sometime, And that way you ain't got to like worry about like, I hurt her feelings, this and that. Because again, she's going to follow your lead and what you're comfortable with. So right now, you're not asking her out. Ideally, you do. At that point, if you decide after that first date, you want to hook up with her that night and she's giving you the signs that can happen, you ain't got to feel guilty if it does happen. You also ain't got to feel guilty if it doesn't happen. It's what you want to do. All we care about is if you're showing interest by asking her out for another date and another date and another date. And women are like, if you're asking them out for a date, they're usually pretty good. If at some point she's like, so like, I noticed you haven't like invited me back to your place. What's up with that? You can be honest and say, hey, you know what? Like I've been in previous situations where I rushed it. And so I think you're really special and I want to get to know you. But like, so it might just take a little bit of time before we get to that step. But honestly, I'm having a great time with you and hopefully we'll keep seeing each other. Like again, but that goes to, this is why I said you don't want to bow down to what women want. Like you want to be mindful of when they're ready for certain steps to happen. But even then it's like, once they show you those signals, it's still at your discretion as to when you pull the trigger on certain things. So if you want to wait 2 or 3 dates before you hook up, you can totally do that. If she decides after one date, he didn't hook up with me, and so I'm not going to see him, that's in her right. She can do that. But I guarantee you more often than not, women that are highly interested, they're just happy they get any time with you. They're happy if they kiss you at all. They're happy to eventually at some point down the line get the hookup, So just some food for thought that as the guy, you're still going to be leading this thing. And also that also shows women that I always talk about this thing of like, you want her interest to be slightly above yours. So if you're not trying to rush into a hookup, they'll definitely get that their interest is slightly higher and they're going to do all the things to be on their best behavior to see to it that they're building up your interest and they'll know that they built up to a certain level that's better when you do decide to hook up with them. So again, it really is a good litmus test for having a woman that, has a strong head on her shoulders and that actually isn't going to be like thrown off because she doesn't get her way, because she doesn't sleep with you right away. It's at your discretion, dude. So just remember that part also. Let's see. He said, have her over and turn on a Diddy documentary and joke about putting something in her drink. That will be my move. Yeah. You can be levels of funny with that, but like, yeah, let's maybe not do that. That's funny. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for today's show. I have some other stuff to attend to myself. I got lunch to eat because I've not eaten food yet today because I had to go to my clinical trial follow-up where I had to like fast overnight. So I'm definitely hungry, but thank you guys for tuning in. If you like my work and you want to show support, go to StopLosingWomen.com and get yourself a program. Like real talk, like support me by supporting yourself. Get the coaching, get some of the ebooks, get the Get Girls Academy, because all this stuff's designed to help you out, and it also helps me. You can also support by leaving a thumbs up on this video and by sharing this video with your friends at large, all right? So thanks for watching. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I will catch you guys on the next stream. I'm out. Peace.